Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Billing Platform webinar, 10 Questions for Every Billing Vendor. My name is Craig Wise. I am the Director of Content Marketing at Billing Platform. At this point, I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Nathan Shinn from Billing Platform. Nathan is the co-founder of Billing Platform and currently serves as Chief Strategy Officer. As an engineer with over 20 years of experience in high-volume enterprise information systems, he is closely involved in the technical evolution of our platform. Nathan is unfaltering in his determination to provide a state-of-the-art and unparalleled service to companies in every industry across the globe. Thanks to his passionate, hands-on approach to management and strategy, Billing Platform has grown exponentially under his leadership. And with that ringing introduction, Nathan, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, great. Well, thanks, Craig, for the generous intro. So, as you start to look around for a billing system, first of all, you're probably looking, if you're already in business, because you've got a lot of pain in a particular area. And as you go out, all of the solutions that you have available to you varied quite dramatically, but they may all, from their advertising and print emotions, they may all look very similar. So really, you need to kind of orient yourself around what it is that you're looking for, what makes your business unique, what are the things that are specific to how you run your business that will inform your decision about choosing a billing vendor. So we created these 10 questions, and we'll walk through them here. So question number one, can the billing system support pricing, rating, and bundling without custom code? Now, if you're a business-to-consumer organization or your pricing and rating is very simple, you may find that an out-of-the-box solution works perfectly for you. There's no adjustments that need to be made. You can adopt the methodology of the vendor and just work with it the way it is out of the box. But if you are more of a business-to-business type company and you're dealing on an enterprise level, and maybe you have a variety of different product offerings rated in a completely variable way across several different product lines and business units, et cetera, you may need to support some more complex rating scenarios and some more diverse rating scenarios. And when doing so, it would be great not to have to pull in developers to write custom code. So question number one is, can the billing system, if your needs are such, accommodate a vast variety of different configurations without requiring custom code? Two, does the billing system support event or user-driven invoicing cycles? Now, again, we'll take it from the more simplified model to the more complex. In a more simplified model, you may just have an automated invoicing process that generates invoices and they go out on a particular interval, or they generate on a particular interval, and that's good enough. But you may have more specific needs wherein it isn't just a cycle that determines when an invoice is ready to go out or ready to be approved or automatically generates and is delivered to the customer. There may be an event that drives that. So let's say, for example, you're in the ports and logistics industry, and you're really servicing ships that come into your port, and you're servicing the cargo coming on and off the ship, servicing the ship, doing a bunch of different transactions. And really what you want your billing cycle to do, or your invoicing process to do, is send out all of the invoices necessary once that ship leaves the port, once it sails away. So that's an example of an event-based invoicing cycle. Another example might be of a user-driven cycle, may be that you just want to produce some invoices ad hoc, or you want to collect usage data, and at a certain point in time when you determine it, you'd like to close that invoice and send it off to the customer. So the question number two is, does the system support things that are outside of normal invoicing cycles and give you more variety and granularity with which to execute that? Question number three, does the billing system include configurable usage collection and data mediation capabilities? Now, when I first got into it, I took for granted, coming from the telecommunications industry, that billing systems would include a mediation product. And what mediation is the ability to take raw usage data, whether that be from an airport information system or a telecommunications switch, raw data, and then interpret that data and get it into a format that the billing system can use, or the billing system can, generate charges from and identify the right end customer to bill. So surprisingly, a lot of billing systems don't come with a mediation system built in. Usually that kind of thing is done outside, either by custom code or in a custom procedure, or that particular module has to be purchased independently from a different vendor. So a good question to ask is, how configurable is the usage collection and data mediation capabilities? For a couple of reasons. One, you're going to be saving cost by not having to purchase or build or develop something external to the billing app. And two, it really gives you a lot more opportunity to interpret the usage data within the context of billing, so that you can have more flexibility with how you choose to monetize those services and that usage data. 4, does the billing system support multiple currencies and languages? You may be doing business in one country, but more and more with globalization and across enterprises, your tendency is to be dealing with multiple currencies, multiple languages, multiple time zones. So one thing to consider is, how well does that billing system support that? Do you have a multi-currency capability? Do you have multi-currency contracts? Do you have the ability to deal with taxation across different regions of the world, different regulations, and then different languages? You may have a diverse user base using your billing system to close invoices, for example, or to monitor the back office application. And you will have different ways to describe different aspects of the billing, not only from a multiple language perspective, but also from a terminology perspective. So does the billing system have the ability to accommodate that? Is the billing system built with change in mind? Separating product and rating method. Okay, so there's a couple of different methods with which billing systems operate. And this is outside of subscriptions. I'm talking about in a usage scenario. So some use what's called a charge rules method, which tends to be flexible to an extent, wherein you can decide how charges are generated based on rules that you set up for that in the system. Charge rules, they seem pretty straightforward. They come from, however, an ERP kind of a background, where you're looking at a contract by contract basis and then interpreting that contract in the form of rules for charging. And so where that kind of limits you is your ability to decouple rating and specific rates from the process of interpreting the data and determining the type of charge that you're putting through. So what happens is, with a charge rule system, you'll go in and you'll be managing a myriad of different rules, and you'll have to append rules to include different pricing for different customers and creating customer types. It becomes really difficult to manage over time. Whereas if you have a system, let's say, that decouples the product catalog, rating method, and the actual rates, you have a lot more flexibility in packaging. For example, you can price differently inside of a package. You can give a customer their own contract with their own prices. And because you have mediation of the data and the product definition and the rating method separate from the actual pricing, you can have different groups managing different things with a lot more ease and ability. And you also have the ability to schedule rate increases at a different time, et cetera. It just gives you a lot more flexibility. So keep in mind what level of flexibility the system has by design to support different product and rating methods. Can the billing system structure be easily configured to support varying business processes and data models? So it's not just a product model or a charging model at play when you're dealing with billing in an enterprise setting. Oftentimes there are different data structures that need to be in place to support that billing. For example, I'll take an airport again. An airport needs to track information about flight registrations. A registration for an aircraft is not like a registration for a car. The actual aircraft registrations get reused and go from company to company. So if an airplane is sold, let's say, from one airline to another, you don't want your bill to continue to go to the original airline vendor that you had configured in the system. So the ability to track different aircraft registrations in your system becomes critical to identify who the bill belongs to from the usage data. Also, you may want to track information about the type of aircraft because you want to bill certain charges based on whether or not it's a freight aircraft and how much the aircraft weighs versus whether the aircraft is a passenger aircraft and how many passengers into the plane. So that kind of flexibility is only able to be supported through ad hoc customization of the core data model of the information system, and then being able to take that data model and leverage it in different aspects of the billing operation, leverage it in invoicing, leverage it in reporting, in core rating, in rate management, etc. 7, can workflow and approval rules be built from any object in the billing system? So we can have the ability to configure the data structure underneath, but given that data structure, do we have the ability and flexibility to create automation on top of that? So every system is going to come with a basic set of workflows built in. You need to have a workflow that governs rating and generating invoicing and sending those and distributing those invoices and things like dunning and late payment notifications. Those are kind of par for the course with any type of financial system and billing system. But where the differentiator lies is the ability to orchestrate and configure bespoke and highly customized and specific workflows around different actions. So things like reminders about different events that happen in the system. Let's say you create a different data structure, and based on certain things that happen with regard to the data, you want to do something automatically in the system. Maybe you want to, kick off an integration with another system. Maybe you want to get simple notifications. Maybe you want to change data about other things. How granular you can get into the automation of the system speaks to the workflow and approval rules that the system is capable of. Can the billing system support different access levels based on user role to allow business users and customers to easily view different products, applications, and records? This just speaks to the configurability of the access of the system, the security access. So role-based access. Can you set up a customer-facing role, and with that role, decide what you will and will not allow the customer to see and do? Can you allow for field-level access? So certain users can have read-only access to certain fields. Certain users can have full access to fields. Some users can't see the field at all. Record-based security, which is not listed here. You may have a reseller construct wherein your resellers actually will log into the billing system and do their own self-management. And so you don't want one reseller seeing the rates that you're giving to another reseller or the customers and et cetera. So your ability to configure the billing system's security model is an important factor, or could be an important factor with regard to the decisions you make about which system to choose. Can business users directly modify the application without the support of a programmer? Now, we touched on this a bit, but when you think about configurability, you may want to push a little further in your questioning about that. So sure, some systems can be configurable, but they're configurable by the vendor. The billing vendor is the one who customizes that application for you. And when you need a new customization, or you change your business processes, or you acquire a new customer and you need changes to that system to support what you're doing and your new processes, you're forced to open up a full-fledged development engagement with the vendor. So some systems are made configurable with tools built into the system so that a business user, for example, could do this. A business user could create an entire package, in response to a new marketing or product development strategy, test that package out in the system and deploy that themselves to production, right? It's not available in all systems. And then the customization with regard to the core application and the workflow. Can that be done through the user interface? Can your company own the configuration and extend the configuration at will? This lowers the cost of change for you. This lowers the cost of ownership of the application, because it puts you in the driver's seat, and now you have control over the billing system, billing process, and all the related information and automation around that. And finally, 10, can the billing system handle flexible configuration of invoice automation to produce customer-specific templates, delivery preferences, and frequency? So this really kind of speaks to a customer-driven setup wherein the customer can say, hey, I'd like to see these things on my invoice. If I can't see these things on my invoice, I can't manage costs, right? Or your invoice PDF is lovely. We think it looks great and gives us a good high-level information, but we need the detail behind that. You need to back it up with a line-by-line usage level, a breakdown of the charges that we incurred with you so that we can audit this and pull those into our own systems, right? You know, we'd like to get our bill on the 15th of every month. We would like to pay via credit card or ACH. You know, all of these different customer-specific configurations come into play really when you want to offer your customer a lot more options, and you're differentiating your service also through your ability to give the customer what they want from a billing relationship. So critical billing system requirements boil down to the balance between flexibility and controllership. So it's one thing to have great flexibility in a system, but then also you need to balance that with the guardrails and the ability to control and understand what's going on in that system in light of all of those customizations that you may have made to support your business process, right? And so the flexibility in customization, and then also the fluidity. How well can you create the automation and the fluidity of the changes in pricing and, you know, scheduling pricing of the future, pricing updates, customer self-management, et cetera. How fluidly can that system operate within a good controllership model with the customization specific to what your industry does and what you do specifically within your industry, and the flexibility to change over time. So each business has different needs within industries and across industries and across regions. Understand your needs, understand really where it is you're going. You know, there's a lot of things that you might take for granted with a billing system that you don't encounter until well after you have that billing system implemented and you're experiencing its limitations. So with those ideas in mind, locate the solution that really fits what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Nathan. Some really critical points in there about choosing the next billing solution for any company. We did have, as you were speaking, we had a couple of questions come in. The first of which, what does BillingPlatform use for mediation? You talked about mediation earlier.
Sure, yeah. So BillingPlatform has a built-in mediation, and the concept behind BillingPlatform is the configurability in the metadata model. So that is extended to the mediation capabilities. So really, when we say mediation, we mean you're going to put in raw data, and then the system is going to interpret 4 things about that mediation: who it belongs to, what it actually is, what product or service it is, what the quantity of that particular thing is, that particular line of usage, and when it happened. You may not be getting usage the very same instant that it was used, right? So it may be 2 weeks old. So the mediation is configurable with custom rules that leverage the metadata infrastructure beneath. So if you have very specific data structure that you're leveraging to interpret, you know, who the customer is, what the product is, how much to bill for, and when it happened, right? Though that supporting data model can be leveraged by the mediation system. So the mediation does the initial ingestion of the usage data, either over the API or through flat file if that's needed, and then does the handoff to the charge routing and everything else in the system.
Terrific. The next question from one of our audience members is again about BillingPlatform. How does BillingPlatform manage products and rating? So
products and rating are managed by a decoupled sort of object-oriented structure to avoid things like SKU proliferation or the, you know, over intense management like charge rules. So as I mentioned before, we separate the product from the rating method and the rates from the product and the rating method, and then the usage from that whole process. So by decoupling all of those, you have a lot more flexibility to mix and match things. So for example, I may have a monthly subscription in general by default on the product level, but maybe in the context of this customer or package, I want that to become a quarterly subscription, sorry. Or maybe I want to create this product catalog with usage-based products, but for this particular customer, there is some specific logic I want to implement. Or maybe I want to decouple pricing. I want to create this very regional specific group of default rates, right? And generally, I assign those for convenience because my product catalog, maybe it's 1,000 products deep, right? So generally, I prescribe or I assign this rate class, as we call it, to a particular customer's contract, but then I want to override 2 or 3 of those rates in there. So it also gives you the ability to effective date every rate and every contract so that you can say, well, in 3 months, the rate's going to go up or down, or we're going to have a renewal and we're going to have, new rates active at that particular time. And the system really just kind of interprets anything from the usage data or the subscription engine along the lines of when the rate is effective.
Great. One more question that came in, Nathan, and it's around workflows. Specifically, what types of workflows does BillingPlatform support?
So workflow in our system comes in 2 basic flavors. One is a scheduled workflow, wherein you say, well, every hour, every day, every month, at this particular time of day, this routine is going to wake up and it's going to perform a series of actions, right? So that's scheduled workflow. Then there's the event-based workflow, which happens as things change in the system. So when this record updates and it meets this particular criteria, shoot the customer a message informing them of XYZ, or when a certain thing reaches a certain state, first send an email, then update another record in the system, then call an integration routine to another system, right? So you have workflow and workflow actions. The workflow comes in 2 different flavors, which are scheduled and event-based. Those have filters, and then each filter can have a variety of sequenced actions that happen as a result of those filters.
Terrific. It does look like we have one more user question that came in. What change logs are available for auditing, and can this solution be tied to an Active Directory?
So change logs we see as an audit trail on a data level, right? So when you're looking at change logs, you're looking at, well, when was this record last modified? When was it created? When was it updated? And who did it, right? So we have an audit trail on every single record in the system, and any new type of data object that you create in the system comes with that out of the box audit trail on a record level. You also have extended field level and record level history tracking that layers this information. So it's not just, hey, when was it created and when was it last modified and who last touched it, but you have the ability, this can lead to very large volumes of data, to have layers of history so that you can actually go back in time and see how this record has changed over time, and even, bring the record back to a particular point in time, to recover the information, say, if something went awry.
Okay, great. I think that answers that. And we don't have any further questions. But before we sign off, I just wanted to tell you all that if you'd like to learn more about how BillingPlatform delivers the flexibility every business needs, you can visit our website at www.billingplatform.com. Thank you all for joining, and keep your eyes open for future webinars.